Welcome guys to the next installment in the FAQ series. Today we are going to discuss a very commonly asked question on how to use the box system for long-term investments. Well, the first thing I want to clarify is that markets are fractals. What does that mean? It means that the patterns that appear on the weekly charts are the same ones that appear on a daily chart, are the same ones that appear in an hourly chart, and even a 5-minute chart if the stock is liquid enough. What does it mean by that? It just means that there are enough buyers and sellers for it to be active on a 5-minute chart. If it's active, the pattern is going to apply. So with that premise, let's start this video looking at some examples and how we would have held some of the common uptrends and downtrends of the last few years with the box system. So first thing we need to remember is that for a trend to happen, we need an extended period of consolidation, which is where the institutions are going to be accumulating or distributing their position. So usually that would be seen as a base box, all right? And the first example I'm using is of Roku, the downtrend that had happened last year. We're also going to look at some examples of uptrends. The same concept will also apply to the uptrend of Roku after COVID times. So you guys can see this pattern repeating time and time again on every single stock that trends. All right, so let's look at the example of Roku. Let's start with drawing out the base box first. We know Roku consolidated for a period of time in this area all the way from, let's say, around January of 2021 to November of 2021. So it had this year-long consolidation period, just sideways movement where price did not really go anywhere. All right, we have this time where price did not go anywhere, just sideways. So that is a base box on the weekly chart. How do we know it's a base box? You can see the flat 9 MA and the crossing 50 MA. All right, so when this price would have broken down the box, we can anticipate a downtrend has started. Now, what is a downtrend? A downtrend is a sequence of lower lows and lower highs. In this case, if a downtrend has started, then price should never really go above the previous swing high. This right here, around 350, is the previous swing high. Why is it a previous swing high? Because the two candles, left and right of it, do not make a new high. All right, so that's why a swing high. A swing low, for example, has the two candles to the side of it. They do not go any lower. So that's a swing low right here. All right, so now the downtrend has started. Our initial stop is above the swing high because if a downtrend has started, price should not really go above this high anymore. So we shorted, let's say on this breakout and start riding it lower. Price makes a lower low and then bounces to make a lower high. After that, once price breaks below, we have confirmation that this is a lower high. We will move a stop here. So initially a stop was here. Now we are riding this downtrend. A stop would move above the new swing high right here. So above 264. Then price went lower, made a new lower low, bounces to make a lower high. And then once the lower high is confirmed, the next candle breaks lower. We would move our stop from the previous swing high to the new swing high right above it. Because if the downtrend is valid, we should keep making lower highs. The price should never really go above the swing high right here, around 7th February, the weekly chart. So 180 area. All right, keep riding the downtrend lower, make another lower low, make another lower high, make another lower low. We keep moving a stop to the new lower highs, right above the new lower highs. And then we ride it all the way till here when the previous swing high would have got breached. Okay, that's how long you could have ridden this in a long-term investment. What you're basically seeing is how to ride or how long to hold your long-term investment. Because those guys who say, all right, hold forever, then you will ride it up and down. That's not the case. You have to ride it as long as the trend is valid. Once the trend is over, you get out. And in this case, it's clear how you can see the trend is over. Obviously, you can use the 9 MA and the 50 MA as benchmarks. You can see price rode the 9 MA all the way down. But the clear definition is obviously with the lower highs and lower lows. That's what a downtrend is. All right, let's see a similar example on an uptrend. I want to show you a bunch of examples because all the guys who do long-term investments, you guys need to understand how this works. All right, so in this case, let's look at Tesla. This was one of the major trends in 2021, and we will ride the uptrend. All right, so Tesla, for a long period of time, from 2017 all the way to 2020 was just in a major base box. Sideways consolidation, price did not really go anywhere. All right. And what does a big base box give us? It gives us the energy for a nice trend. In this case, the trend was up after this breakout. So we have this base box, flat 9 MA, flat 50 MA, and then we break higher. All right. So in this case, when we break higher, price did not really give us a swing low. All right. We simply went up. So if we simply went up and price did not give us a swing low, ideally, our stop would be below the previous swing low, okay, below this 21 area. Now, obviously, someone has to be a fool to not really take any profits on the way up to 60. But let's say you're a long-term investor and you stick to your guns, you do not take profits. COVID comes, you ride it all the way back down. Your stop still would not get hit because the uptrend is valid. Price goes back up again. Now your stop would have moved from this $22 area to right below this swing low around 23.5. At the same time, obviously not much of an increase. You ride the trend up. All right, price breaks higher, creates another swing. Well, no. It just keeps going higher, does not give us a swing low. We keep riding it. Finally, it gives us a swing low here. All right. So in this case, price makes a higher high right here, a higher low, valid uptrend, goes on to make another higher high, and then a higher low. So finally, we would move our stop from 23.5 to below this higher low. Because if the uptrend is valid, we should keep riding it. So we move our stop below this. Then price goes up again, makes another higher high. All right. Pulls back, makes another higher low, in which case we would move our stop from this $90 area to below this 109.5, so below this 110 area. All right, price never breaches this stop, makes another higher high, keeps going higher, boom, makes finally another higher low here. So we would have moved our stop all the way from 109, right below 110 to below 260. And then once that gets breached, now the uptrend is over and we're going to enter a period of consolidation, which Tesla does, and we would be out. Then we get a 50 MA box. And if you want, you can re-enter on the break above this, makes a higher high, higher low. You would move your stop below this. And then once that gets breached, you get out of Tesla for good. You see how the concept of a trend would have helped you ride it the entire way up? Now, obviously, I do not recommend it to a person to not take any profits even after significant moves, because that's asinine. So if that's why I personally take some profits, at least some profits on the next zone above. If I'm riding on the weekly charts, I would take partial profits on the next weekly zone above or so on. In this case, since we had no price history, I would have looked at the height of this box from $12 to $25. That's around a $12 move. I would have taken partial profits at $37 and then left some for the regular stop. All right. Either way, I want to show you how you can ride a full trend as a long-term investor and then get out when the trend is over. That's what you have to think about. As a long-term investor, you're not in you don't care about the fundamentals. You don't care about the bright future. What you care about is how you can ride the trend the longest. Now, at no point am I saying riding a move like this is easy. I just showed you a big trend of 2021. Most of the trends won't be this outrageous or insane, but the concept still applies. I won't say it's easy to hold a position for multiple weeks or months, but that's what long-term investing is about. It's about having patience. All right, let's look at some other examples. Spot. The reason I'm bringing up Spot is because this base box was highlighted in a weekly watch list last year before it broke down. So Spot had a clear base box right here. You can extend it towards left because you can see price never really went anywhere in time all the way starting June 2020. It tried to break higher, did not really trend, came back. But you can think of this as the base box. Now this base box finally broke down. And this base box was mentioned in a weekly watch list last year. So once it finally break down, the downtrend has started. And since it's on the weekly charts, you can use it as a long-term investment or a long-term swing trade, however you want to call it. Your initial stop would be right above this. All right, so right above this 247 area. You can have a tighter stop above the first zone inside the box, but the actual stop based on the trend structure has to be above this 246 area. So price goes lower, makes a lower low, bounces, makes a lower high, and then goes back lower. So you would move your stop from this 247 area all the way to above this 208 area. Now, if you guys are familiar, this is simply a retest of the box to make a lower high. After that, price makes another lower low, then makes a lower high and breaks lower. So you would move your stop all the way from this 208 area to right above this 160 area. Price makes a lower low, makes a lower high. You would move your stop to this right above 120 area. And then finally, price would break above this lower high and the trend is done. When the trend is done, what happens? Price is going to enter a period of consolidation, which is exactly what Spotify did. But you can see, you would have rode this move from around $210 all the way to $120. And that's what riding a trend or a long-term investment is about. All right. I'm just showing you multiple examples so you guys get this concept. It's a very simple concept, right? Markets are simple. It's the execution, which is the hard part. To be patient to ride this entire thing is the hard part. But let's look at another example. You can say, what were some other big trends? Nvidia, maybe. You can talk about the recent Nvidia big trend. Okay. So Nvidia had this base box. Now, obviously, Nvidia is a crazy example. I can show you Apple too. We had the Apple base box on the weekly watch list in March. So you could have done the same thing. But let's say Nvidia had this base box, all right, consolidated for almost around a year, maybe 10 months. You can even make it tighter, probably around here. But let's say $200 to be safe. Price breaks out and you want to ride an uptrend as a long-term investment. I know it's too wide of a stop, but you will have to have your first stop if you want to follow the trend structure below this area, 140. You ride it up, all right? Price finally makes a higher low here. So you move your stop up to 204. Then price goes up to make another higher high, pulls back to make a higher low here. You would move your stop to 224. Price goes up to make another higher high, pulls back to make a higher low around 262. You would move your stop up here. And right now, price is going crazy, making another higher high. Now, again, as I said, it would be asinine to not take any profits after this big move up. You should take partial profits, maybe at this 280 area, maybe at this previous swing high, previous all-time highs at 345 area. You should take partial profits, but you can ride this trend as a long-term investment as long as the trend structure is valid. All right, Apple, base box, we are riding right now. The trend is still valid, it's running. Now, Apple base box that were highlighted in March was this. Price had been consolidating sideways for almost a year and finally broke out. So once it breaks out, your initial stop will be below this 144 area. That's where your first swing low was. So it has to be below this. We go back up, make a higher low here. We move up our stop to below 160. We go back up. And right now we made a higher low here. So our stop would be below 170. And you would have rode this entire move up and however long it goes. I hope this concept is clear. What you would see in most of the trends is the first big trend, you will see price riding this 9MA the entire time. So if you see a big break of the 9MA, you kind of want to assume that price is going into a consolidation period and you can exit prematurely if you want. But 9MA is simply a guide. The trend structure is defined by swing highs and swing lows. Now, one thing you guys want to notice is most of the examples you saw are growth stocks. So this same concept would not really work well with stocks that don't trend. Like dividend stocks don't do shit. They just move sideways for a long time because the priority of the company is not to increase it's not growth. It's to stabilize its stock price. Okay. So dividend stocks would not give you the kind of trends which you want to hold for the long term, unless you're interested in the dividend, which is a very different story. The second thing I want to mention is you will realize that many of the large cap tech do not have great downtrends. So Roku, Spotify, other ones would be Snapchat. They had great downtrends. Okay. You can see the same concept would apply here. You can ride this downtrend. But large cap growth stocks on which the indices depend, on which almost every single institution is invested, and many of those have to be invested on the long side because they can't short it. Large cap growth stocks like Apple, Amazon, Nvidia, Tesla, they don't have great downtrends. I want to clarify this difference because there's a lot at stake with those large cap stocks. Netflix and Tesla still had a good downtrend, but it's not as clean as you would see in other growth stocks where mutual funds, big institutions don't have to be invested at all times. All right. So the best uptrends appear in all growth stocks. The best downtrends appear in growth stocks, which are not the big ones in the indices. All right. So let's say the top 10 would not have great downtrends. All right, I think this video by itself should help you understand how you can look at long-term investing in terms of price alone without having to think about fundamentals, without having to think about what the CEO is doing or any of the other crap. Just using price alone, you can ride trends for a long time, and that's the best way to do it. All right, guys, if you have any questions about this, just ask me inside the group, and see you all later.